Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got a brilliant chess battle packed with tactics, strategy, and surprises. Let's dive right in. Wesley opens with e4. The white pawn storms forward like a spear, claiming the heart of the board with royal confidence. Wei Yi answers c5. The Sicilian wall rises, jagged and fierce, promising sharp counterattacks from the very start. Wesley brings out the knight to c3, a flexible setup, eyeing control of d5 and quietly preparing his future storm. Wei Yi replaces with z6, solid and dark, fortifying his c5 pawn and inviting the fiery complexities of the Sicilian defense. Wesley develops nf3. The white knight leaps into the battlefield, defending f4 and preparing to open the center. Wei Yi mirrors with nf6, an aggressive invitation, poking at the e4 pawn and heating up the tension. Wesley pushes d4. The center explodes open, declaring that he will fight for dominance, not just space. Wei Yi captures cx4. The first exchange crackles as black tests the depth of white's resolve in the heart of the board. Wesley recaptures with nx4. His knight plants itself proudly in the center, a white flag turning into a spear. Wei Yi develops n6. The battlefield grows crowded, both knights glaring across the f5 square like rival generals. Wesley brings out bg5. The bishop joins the fray, pinning the black knight and whispering danger toward the queen. Wei Yi fianchettos with g6. Shadows form on the king's side, a quiet prelude to his dark-squared bishop's awakening. Wesley trades with bxf6. He cuts through the tension, sacrificing his bishop pair to weaken black's pawn structure. Wei Yi recaptures sf6. Pawns double but power grows. The f-file opens, promising counterplay later. Delptur en wogen killen in a scene. Wesley places bb5. Another pin appears, white squeezing pressure on the cheek's knight and the entire queen's side. Wei Yi calmly develops b7, defending the pinned knight, patching cracks in his armor while staying composed. Wesley retreats d2, a quiet reposition, preparing to reroute his knight toward better squares, keeping options open. Wei Yi follows with b7, completing his development, ready to castle and stabilize before the storm. Wesley plays qd2, eyes glinting with intent. He connects the rooks and hints at a long castle strategy. Wei Yi castles kingside. His king escapes to safety behind a wall of dark pawns, ready for the counterpunch. Wesley jumps ung3. The knight snakes toward the enemy camp, eyeing the f5 square like a predator. Wei Yi develops r8. The rook aligns on the c-file, targeting white's queenside ambitions. Wesley advances nd5. A bold strike. The knight digs deep into enemy lines, slicing through the center. Wei Yi responds b6. The bishop challenges the intruder, tension humming through the board. Wesley shifts bc4. Pressure intensifies. The white bishop locks its sight on the black king's defenses. Wei Yi replies nf5. The counter-knight emerges, a blockade to stem white's control of the center. Wesley retreats bb3. The bishop slides back, keeping its diagonal alive, refusing to be trapped. Wei Yi repositions in c4. That knight lunges like a blade toward b2 and e3, forcing white to calculate carefully. Wesley captures knight c7. The knight trades itself for structural clarity, forcing black's hand. In Mois SCV and a scanner septonistanto. Wei Yi answers q7, regaining material balance while maintaining central influence. Wesley plays qd4. His queen commands the board, eyeing both flanks and probing black's weaknesses. Wei Yi twists 5, a sudden counterstrike, breaking open the f-file and igniting his kingside ambitions. Wesley castles long. The white king races to the opposite side, declaring war across the entire board. Wei Yi leaps na5. The black knight heads for c4, Windur and Weizin, hunting counterplay on the queenside. Wesley calmly plays keybone, tucking his king safely into the corner, shielding it from immediate threats. Wei Yi strikes with bxb3, removing white's bishop, cracking the queenside defenses slightly. Wesley recaptures axb3. His pawn reshapes the structure, opening the a-file for future rook raids. Wei Yi pushes forward, a thrust of aggression, driving at the knight and signaling a coming storm. Wesley retreats net2, preserving the knight, preparing to redeploy it defensively or for counterattack. Wei Yi activatis n6. The knight returns to the fray, reinforcing central control and aiming for renewed tactics. Wesley captures qsd6, a precise blow. The queen cuts through, snatching a pawn and flipping the pressure. Wei Yi counters q4. The black queen bites back instantly, creating a double-edged balance on the board. Wesley strikes again with nc3, building threats and inviting tactical chaos in the center. Wei Yi takes qh2. The black queen raids the second rank, hunting pawns and sniffing for perpetual chances. Wesley answers qesh4. He stabilizes and hits back. The center remains ablaze with mutual threats. Wei Yi plays c8, mobilizing heavy artillery, stacking his rooks on the central file. Wesley responds ne4. The knight jumps forward, locking horns with black's forces once again. Wei Yi pushes 5. Power meets power. The pawn thrusts forward, fighting for every inch of space. Wesley replies n6, an infiltrating knight. It digs deep into black's camp, slicing coordination apart. Dart. Wei Yi defense with rf6. The rook stands tall like a fortress, covering vital squares and preparing resistance. Wesley pushes nb5. The knight advances like a hammer, crashing toward the a7 and 7 squares, pressing Wei Yi to defend fast. Wei Yi replaces q4, calm yet venomous. The queen centralizes, weaving counter threats through every diagonal. Wesley plays q7, a shocking invasion. The queen plants deep inside enemy territory, choking the 7th rank. Kinda new region. Wei Yi counters with rd2, defense under pressure. His rook rushes to block white's infiltration lines. Wesley sacrifices rxd2, cold-blooded precision. He exchanges to strip away black's final line of defense. Wei Yi snaps back Kuishoni, a desperate counter-punch, stealing tempo and threatening havoc on the back rank. Wesley sidesteps with Katu, cool as ice. The king slides out of the check and eyes safety on the light squares. Wei Yi reinforces with RFS7, rebuilding his fortress, preparing to defend the wreckage of his position. One roll potential Wei Yi and make jokes, and so. Wesley responds Q6. The queen pulls back strategically, regrouping for the final storm. Wei Yi parries with Keon, clinging to defense, guarding critical dark squares with steel nerves. Wesley pushes Key 3, a silent move, but deadly. The foundation of his queenside march is laid. Wei Yi breathes KG7, shifting his king closer to the battle, ready to aid his faltering troops. Wesley drives B4, a brutal advance. White's pawns start rolling like tanks toward the black king. Wei Yi thrusts A6, countering on the edge, trying to open a path for his rook's counterplay. Wesley consolidates ND4. The knight returns as a rock-solid guardian, tying everything together. Wei Yi activates RF6, again doubling down on defense, refusing to collapse easily. Wesley swings QE7 lection. The queen delivers a lightning check, slicing through Wei Yi's fragile shield. Wei Yi meets it with RF7, forced to block again, holding by sheer precision. Wesley steadies Key4, aiming straight at black's weak kingside. The next assault is brewing. Wei Yi counters Re7, holding the line, trying to keep order amid chaos. Wesley strikes Eng6. The knight captures cleanly, shattering black's coordination and ripping open new threats. Wei Yi fires back Q6, a tactical jab, forcing white to keep calculating under fire. Wesley retreats K3, his king tucks away again, safe in its bunker of pawns. Wei Yi captures QSCX, the queen's dance in danger. Black regains material, but his king grows weaker. Wesley continues RD6. The rook advances mercilessly, coordinating with the queen for the kill. Wei Yi defends K4, trying to trade queens, dreaming of survival in a fading endgame. Wesley rebuffs with QD2, declining the exchange. He keeps pressure boiling at maximum. Wei Yi answers K5. The queen clings to hope, yet her mobility is shrinking rapidly. Wesley pushes F3, tightening the noose. The pawn shields the king and limits black's counterplay. Wei Yi goes F5, flinging a desperate pawn forward, seeking chaos as the only chance left. Wesley thrusts C4, connecting his pawns into a deadly wave. The queenside storm is unstoppable. Wei Yi checks QA3, trying to distract, but white's structure stands unshaken. Wesley sidesteps QC3, precision personified, defending while keeping full control. Action. Wei Yi brings F5, more defense, piling resources to guard against collapse. Wesley counters BS5, capturing with intent, opening files for his rooks to invade. Wei Yi trades QX3, simplifying. Yet every exchange tightens White's grip on the endgame. Wesley recaptures BXT, clean and cold. His structure remains unbreakable. His advantage growing. Wei Yi lashes out Arxafive, a temporary spike of activity. But the damage has been done. Wesley So, and 9 times. Wesley slides KB3. His king calmly walks towards safety, turning defense into attack. Wei Yi follows Raune. His rook races behind enemy lines, searching for perpetual check chances. Wesley responds CI5. The pawn march continues. A silent drumbeat toward promotion. Wei Yi retreats KF7. His king creeps forward, ready for the last stand. Wesley marches KC4. White's monarch joins the army, leading from the front like a fearless commander. Wei Yi plays K8. Defensive consolidation. But his army grows smaller by the second. I said you. Wesley pushes RB6, a powerful alignment, preparing to drive the final spear through Black's defenses. Wei Yi tries Ratfu, counter-attacking with hope. Yet it's too little too late. Wesley nudges H4, quietly creating luft and space for his king. Every detail perfected. Wei Yi mirrors reason, holding the back rank desperately. His rook a trembling sentry. Wesley advances KD5. The white king charges into battle. Poor dominance on the board. Vojdesdane when he steps K8. His monarch braces for the storm. Every piece clinging to life by a thread. Wesley drives Fowler. The white pawn muscles forward, cutting off counterplay and pressing Wei Yi's final defenses into suffocation. Wei Yi shifts tight, retreating step by step. The black king senses the encroaching doom closing in. Wesley steadies, RF6. The rook stands like a general, coordinating with pawns for the final breakthrough. Wei Yi places Rath3. His rook stays active. But the plan is fading. The position crumbling. Wesley continues, R5, a thunderbolt check. The white rook screams across the board with deadly intent. Wei Yi sidesteps KC7, scrambling for safety. Yet every square feels poisoned. Wesley keeps pressure with RF7, another blast, forcing Black's king into a corner of despair. Repetition looms. But White's energy burns for the win. Wesley captures RX7, the rook devoured pawn, clearing the H-file for total domination. Wei Yi counters RXT3, clawing back material, clawing backs. But it's a hollow gesture against White's momentum. Wesley strikes RG7, a switch of fronts. The rook swings to the king's side like lightning. Kanakaniye, Manonjies, Anodio, Emorichi, and Binok. Wei Yi defends Art3. His rook retreats to the shadows, trying to slow the white advance. Wesley answers XD6, a brutal cleanup. Wei's defenses start to dissolve completely. Wei Yi regains RXX4, a small bite. But the board burns with White's fury. Wesley marches KD6. The king leads from the front again, pushing toward total control. Wei Yi zakes air with Gebite. His monarch runs. But there's nowhere left to hide. Wesley flashes Sergate, another laser check, pinning the black king in a death cage. Wei Yi flees K7, one less gasp, woman. But his fortress is in ruins. Wesley answers K5. The king follows like a hunter. Remove your cannon, curates. Tightening the net methodically. Wei Yi blocks E7, a desperate wall. But it's built from sand. Wesley raises, or sate, cutting the board in half. Preparing the final sequence. Wei Yi stands R5, a trembling rook, Tennissin, holding a fragile line between survival and collapse. Wesley continues Kf6. The king climbs higher. Unvorgettable. It's sudden mode to win. A monarch marching toward checkmate, glory. Wei Yi escapes K6, fleeing across the edge. Chased relentlessly. Wesley checks Kg6, closing distance. Like a lion, cornering its prey. Wei Yi defends Rowan, grasping at straws. Holding to any last fragment of resistance. Wesley captures Kgs5, one more pawn gone. White clears the field for the final push. Wei Yi plays R-Cone, seeking activity. But it's too late to rewrite fate. Wesley counters K6, centralizing again. His king stands as an unshakable pillar of victory. Wei Yi trusts B5, a faint spark. Hoping to distract. But the storm comes anyway. Wesley advances, H6, a thunderous check. Every move now drips with inevitability. Wei Yi sidesteps K5, moving on instinct. The king trembles under fire. Wesley pushes 5, reinforcing his line. Uniting his forces for the finishing blow. Wei Yi, replies before, still fighting. Still, resisting the inevitable. Wesley strengthens F6. His pawns march in harmony. The end, now visible. Wei Yi shuffles Kb5, trapped, Temuisen, is your sense. But still, dodging blows. Wesley moves R8, the rook shifts to the final attacking lane. Wei Yi defends Reoni, last flashes of counterplay, Ipilwen and Suyen. But they barely scratch White's armor. Wesley evades Kd6, the king calmly steps aside. Every piece placed with cold precision. Wei Yi holds Afoni, holding by habit, not by hope. Wesley proceeds K7, walking straight into glory. Ready to end it. Wei Yi fights Reonia, another check, no. The rhythm of futility, Y-D. Wesley parries K-fight, now untouchable, The White King stands in triumph. Wei Yi drops Rowan, drifting helplessly, running out of ideas. Wesley brings RC7, aiming for coordination. Preparing the pawn's coronation. And Wei Yi clings K6, the corner of no return. Shadows swallowing the black monarch. Wesley advances F7, unstoppable. The pawn rises like destiny itself. Wei Yi blocks RR4, his final move. A last whisper against the storm. Wesley seals it with Keat. The king steps forward. Calm. Victorious. The board falls silent. Wesley so defeats Wei Yi, in a masterclass of control and precision. That's it for today's video. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next one. Thank you for watching. And I see you in the next video.